Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast, where we will explore the cause and effect of just saying yes in your everyday life or in business. I will dig into topics that are not just stimulating, but will challenge you to be better in everything you do. The podcast is based on the simplicity of saying yes to opportunities you might encounter every single day. I'm your host, Jim Riley. Join me in my first series titled Blue Collar Redefined. Hello and welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate all of your support, your comments in the last week, and everybody that is sending me texts and suggestions, all the above. Thank you so much. Hey, a lot of people ask me about my Spartan training and what it is that gets me so excited about training and being out there. And I'm not really sure what it is. I do like the competition. I like the camaraderie. I like the new group of friends that I've made out there Spartan racing. The training has been absolutely horrific over the summer, trying to get up to 70 miles a week of running in preparation for my big race in September, which is going to be a 30-mile race and 70 obstacles. I'm looking forward to it on one hand, and on the other, I just don't know. I really think that it's going to be a mental game for the second half of the race and pulling off probably the last 5 miles. I'm really praying for good health and no cramping. At the last Spartan race, it was 13 miles for me. I cramped up really bad at the end of the race. So I'm just hoping that I've done enough training and I'm prepared for it. But the reason why I bring that up today is because health is such an issue for everybody. And it's been kind of interesting because 30 pounds heavier ago for me, I felt like I was healthy. I felt like I looked good. I felt like I ate decently. I still enjoyed some drinks and nice dinners out and stuff like that, but I didn't feel like I was in bad health. But yet, now that I've lost 30 pounds through my Spartan training, I feel incredible. And I can tell that there's a major difference in how I look, how I feel, my recovery time for training. And what's crazy to me is so many people say, wow, you lost some weight. And I, like I said, I don't really think I needed to lose weight, but clearly I have. And maybe I did. So thank you, everybody, for the compliments that noticed. It wasn't my objective. I was just training for a race, but it's a natural effect of running 70 miles a week and training hard. So with all that being said, a lot of people talk about diet and what are the right things to do. And I'm no expert. I think the biggest thing is that I listen to my body and what's good for me, not necessarily good for you. But, for example, I like oatmeal in the morning. I take just some dry rolled oats the night before. I soak them in Greek probiotic yogurt, vanilla flavor, which is probably not the best thing. But I soak that overnight in the fridge. You do not cook it. You just soak it overnight in the fridge. And in the morning, the oats have softened up enough to eat them. So for that, I get my protein, my calories, my fiber, and a good source of oatmeal where all the vitamins are still in there because I didn't cook them out. That's what I mean. I just do what works for me, and that's been a great breakfast choice for me for at least the last 5 months. It's helped get me through the morning. It's filling enough, and I make 2 cups of it. So if I don't eat it all first thing in the morning, I'll snack on it into lunch, and then at lunch I focus on proteins and veggies, some carbohydrates. I do snack throughout the day, sometimes good things, sometimes bad, chips, cookies. Sorry, trainer Jordan out there. I know that you don't want to hear that, but it's the reality. That's who I am, and that's what I do. And then I do try to make a well-balanced meal for the family, and I've got 2 little kids, so it's important that they get something good to eat. And, that plays well for me. And I try not to drink too much. Everybody knows I'm in the wine business, so I do enjoy wine here and there. I probably have 1 big night a week where I'll have more than I should, but the other nights maybe it's a glass, maybe it's 2, but that's about it. So anyways, if that helps, I hope it does. That's kind of my general routine, and I know it wasn't very specific minus the oatmeal. But today I have Dr. Haas on the show, and he's just been so enlightening to me and refreshing to me that there is a general practitioner out there that practices the way that he does and the style that he does. And I really hope that you find some value in it, because I know I did. And after the show, I dug into more conversation with him, but I also dug into his websites and some of the programs he does. And I'm really excited about employing some of his techniques that he has practiced over the years on people, and really getting back to listening to my body and what it says to me. And as he says, lifestyle first, natural therapies next, and drugs or surgery last. And what couldn't be better than that, because as I mentioned, I lost a lot of weight, and that really has to do with my lifestyle. Natural therapies, for me in my case, because I don't have any elements, have been more about the good diet. And I really, no drugs, and I've never had a surgery in my life. So thank you, doctor, for that approach. And, let's listen to what the doctor has to say. I'm really happy with this podcast and how it turned out, and I hope you are as well. Thank you. Hello and welcome to the Answers Yes podcast. We've got another exciting guest on the show this week, and I just love that I get the opportunity to meet a variety of individuals with a varied background. And today we want to talk about health because I think it is so important to your overall business and personal life that we have a natural guest in regards to talking about health. And today I've got Dr. Elson Haas on the line. Doctor, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Jim?
I'm doing well, and I really appreciate that we were introduced. Really, it was via email from Christina Tal at Buzzbright PR. She just has brought a couple guests on the show, and she's doing a fantastic job over there. So thank you, Christina. I'm glad that you brought the doctor on. And doctor, she really felt that you had a background that would give us something that we could see as beneficial for our show and our listeners. And I would just love it if you could talk a little bit about how you got into the practice that you're in and where things started for you.
All right, cool. Well, my practice is I'm an integrative family doctor. I became a physician. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, and went to Ann Arbor University of Michigan Medical School. And I came out to Northern California in 1972 to intern, and then I went into practice after that. So it's been 45 years I've been in practice, and I call myself an integrative family physician because I look at people's health and encourage people to really live more optimum lifestyle. One of my ideas, philosophies about health is how we look and feel is primarily a result of how we live. And, really our health, your health starts with you.
Yeah. So let me ask you something. If somebody were to see you as a doctor, I've got two little kids, and any one of us in the family comes to see you as a doctor, would we come see you for a cold or some type of ailment, and then with your practice it might continue into your philosophy, or do we see you strictly for your philosophies? And
both. I see people with all kinds of medical conditions. I see people who are on a lot of medicines who want to reduce them because they don't feel well on them. I see people for health assessments. I'm one of the only integrated family docs that takes insurance and Medicare, and I'm north of San Francisco, so I have a lot of surrounding areas that people can see, and I've written a bunch of books over the years, so people can often lift that up and say, oh yeah, that sounds like a good doc to see. So when I evaluate people, I'm looking at their whole life. I mean, part of what I define as integrative medicine is that it's multidisciplinary. So I use natural medicine, and my concept of new medicine, NEW stands for natural, Eastern, and Western. So I've incorporated all that in my writing and in my practice. We have an acupuncturist as well in the office, and I have. So people, it's multidisciplinary. It looks at people's whole lives. It's not just what's wrong with you. So when people fill out my health history, that's on my Preventive Medical Center of Marin website. They fill that out before they come in, and it reviews everything from your real medical issues to what medicines you're on, what supplements you take, what your emotional world is like, what your personal life is like. What do you do? What do you love? You have a garden, all those kinds of things. So I'm looking at, I get to know people pretty quickly from their stories there. And then, I do, like, many doctors do. I do exams, I do lab work, I do specialty, there's a lot more integrative way of testing, looking at, hormones and brain neurotransmitters for people who have fatigue and insomnia and depression. So many different things. Looking at digestive tract, which is really key. So, basically I like to take people apart and then put them back together. So, if we believe that how we look and feel is primarily a result of how we live, then everything that we do, what we eat and, our fitness level and our stress affects our outcome. And if we have a certain outcome, headaches, allergies, digestive upset, certain things that we're doing in our life are probably contributing to that, and that's what I help people unravel, through allergy testing, through elimination diets, through detox programs and all that.
It sounds like, for lack of a better way to put it, if I come in for a cold, I'm going to get way more than my money's worth when I see you.
Well, hopefully, and you're going to also get to look at your health. See, I mean, how I'm different than many doctors, and I write about this in my Staying Healthy with New Medicine book, my more recent one, is looking at the health continuum. Most people live in a way, they have a few symptoms, they feel pretty good, they have kind of a homeostasis there. But as illness or chronic disease progresses, which is so common in our culture, high blood pressure, diabetes and prediabetes, cholesterol levels, cardiovascular issues, all that, they start to move up this, up the what I call the dark side of the health profile, which is, more symptoms, degenerative disease, real, illness, and then eventually death, And I'm working with people from that state where they come in to how do I move them up to increase energy and vitality and creativity and connectedness in the world and, impassioned about their life, we go up to enlightenment that way. So I'm always working on that. So, and that part of the difference, Jim and listeners, is that, if we're treating, a Western medicine approach when you don't feel well is, what can I take to make this go away?
Yeah.
A more integrative question is, why is this present in my life? What's it doing? What's the message here? How can I correct that? How can I, what does it take for me to heal? And so that's a totally different question. And since our bodies and brains are this, incredible biocomputer, we all know from working on computers and phones, if we ask Siri or Alexa a question, it'll give us information. Well, if you ask your body a question, you're likely to get some insight and information too.
Right. Now, I'm looking on your website. One of the things that I think is very interesting that a lot of people don't think about, you've got it stated as, what are the 5 keys to staying healthy, listed as nutrition, exercise, stress, sleep, and attitude. And I couldn't agree with you more. And I think oftentimes people head off to work, they have an okay day, they get home, they're tired, they're exhausted, and they feel mentally and physically drained. I often think that doesn't have anything to do with their work day. It has to do with your 5 keys to staying healthy. I know you've kind of briefly discussed those already, but can you kind of touch on each one of those topics and how that might affect our work life, and if we were to focus on it, how?
Oh, sure. Well, it affects our whole life. So those are, to me, the five keys of lifestyle. So it starts with good nutrition, and I have a 1,000+ page Staying Healthy with Nutrition book that I wrote that's used for people studying nutrition, as well as a good reference book for people about all the vitamins and minerals. But when I've spoken to groups, nutrition groups, or graduating classes at nutrition schools, I hold that book up, and it's scary once you get it because it's a huge volume. But I said I could simplify this: eat wholesome foods and avoid junk and chemicals. Junk is processed foods, all what we call treat foods.
Yeah.
And I speak a lot with children also, and families, and I say the key thing to learn about, and this is for all ages, is the difference between real food and treats. So when you put your baked goods and your sodas and your chips and various things, any kind of candy and processed foods, in treat foods, that can maybe be 10% of our diet. 20% is even getting up there, but a lot of people eat 50% or more of what I call treat foods. Real foods are fresh veggies, fruits, things from nature, proteins, nuts and seeds, beans, grains, etc. So that's the basis of good nutrition. Fitness is also, I encourage people, I personally work out 8 to 10 hours a week. I do a variety of stuff. I think people are wise to have different exercises they do, so they're not just running every day or doing biking every day, because that can has more stress and injury. So a good balanced exercise program includes, to me, 7 hours a week. It doesn't have to be 1 hour a day. It can be 2 or 3 hours one day and a few hours, but I think that's kind of a minimum. Some people do more. Most people in our culture do less. But you want stretching for flexibility, weight work for toning and building muscle, and cardio for your endurance and, body's detoxification and all that. And all that leads to a sense